Welcome to aisle 641, tips to make you a top chef. My name is Karen Maxson. I'm with the Springfield-Greene County Library District, and today we're at Van Gogh's Eatery on Commercial Street in Springfield. We're going to learn how to make stamppot. It's delicious. Let's go in and meet Joe Gidman. Hey Joe, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks so much for allowing us to come into Van Gogh's Eatery.
Absolutely.
So what do we have here?
So what I wanted to show you today was a traditional type of Dutch dish called a stamppot. And a stamppot is kind of this fun way of getting the people in your family to eat their vegetables with their mashed potatoes, things like that. So it's a dish that dates back to the Middle Ages, and it's originally a form of one-pot cooking, where you'd cook your vegetables and then you'd cook your meat and you'd put your potatoes in and then you'd boil it, you'd pull your meat out, you'd mash it all up together, and then you would take what seasoning was left in the pan and the drippings from the meat and you make a gravy and put it over it.
That sounds wonderful. My mouth is watering.
Yeah. So I have three different versions here that are on our menu. This is our Meatball Zuurkool, which is it's meatballs with a stamppot that has sauerkraut and our Dutch bacon in it, which is kind of like more of a pork loin as opposed to the pork belly. And then this is our beef hoedspot. And a hoedspot is, it's got our braised beef. It's kind of like a pot roast with the brandy brown gravy over top. And then the potatoes have onions and carrots.
Okay, so that's the orange color.
That's what gives it the orange, yeah. And the Dutch like a lot of things that have orange because their royal family is the House of Orange. And actually carrots in general were never orange until the Dutch started growing them. Originally carrots were purple, and they started producing orange carrots, and so and because the royal house was orange,
I had no idea.
So and then this is actually what's called a boringkool, which is a stamppot with kale in it. So ours has kale and Swiss chard. Now normally on our menu we do a vegan version, so we have sautéed vegetables over it with a pesto sauce. But this is a more traditional style, and it has the rookworst, which is a Dutch smoked sausage, and so these are our stamppots. So
hardy for wintertime.
Super hardy, but you would be surprised. We sell these like crazy in the summer too. So, but it's definitely comfort food, very filling. Goes great with the fresh arugula. It's you go ahead and taste a little. Tell me what you think. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna dive into the sauerkraut and bacon.
Sauerkraut. There you go.
So, without the. Oh, that's delicious.
Yep.
Now, some people, sauerkraut would be a strong taste for them.
It is, yeah. And the secret is when you're cooking with sauerkraut, saute it ahead of time a little bit. It'll cut some of that sour flavor. Yeah.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm going in for the. This is kale.
Yep, it's got kale and Swiss chard and a little bit of spinach all chopped up in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
That is so fresh.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then here, we'll let you try.
We're going to try the Royal House. No, what was it you said?
We call this a hoedspot.
The chutzpah, but the orange color is because...
It's because of the House of Orange.
House
that's
of
the
Orange.
the Dutch royal family. It's the House of Orange.
Is there anything else in here, or is that just potato skin?
It's just potato skin, yeah. We use a fresh gold potato. Yeah.
Oh, you can taste the carrots.
Yeah, real good.
This would be a great way to get your family to eat.
Yeah, and you can mix anything into your stamppots, any kind of vegetables, and you can even throw beets in and make them all different colors. Yeah, it's crazy. You can be super colorful and fun with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then here at the restaurant, what kind of gravy do you serve over?
So when we make our braised beef, we actually take the drippings from it, and then we take a pan and we put a bunch of brandy. We light the brandy on fire and some brown sugar, and then pour the gravy or the drippings. And then we make a roux, and then it thickens it up and turns it into our brandy brown gravy.
I would eat that with a spoon.
We do, yeah. We cups, we just drink it. Yeah, chalices. That's the European.
Oh, this is marvelous. Are you going to show us how to make this?
Yeah, I'll just show you some simple things, and it's pretty easy, but anybody can do it, and it's a fun way to liven up your mashed potatoes.
Wonderful. All right, Joe.
All right, well, let's head to the kitchen.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
Okay, Joe, we're in the kitchen of Van Gogh's Eatery, and we have the ingredients in front of us for stamppot.
Yep. You'll see everything's super simple. I mean, it's literally, we're talking sauerkraut. This is our Dutch bacon, which is a pork loin, not a belly. some onions, carrots, potatoes. There's really 3 main spices that go in every Stamp Pot. So of course we have our commercial size Himalayan salt. I prefer the Himalayan salt over any other salt. And then some black pepper, and then nutmeg. So most of your Dutch dishes almost always have a pinch of nutmeg in there, or sometimes if you don't have that, you can use allspice, you know, things like that. And then you can do it with a lot of butter if you like butter and cream. I prefer olive oil for most stuff, so that gives you that option if you're dairy intolerant or lactose intolerant. And then apple cider vinegar. So I cook with a lot of vinegars. Most of my Stamp Pots, I like them a little bit on the sweet side. So, but everything I like to have a little bit of acid, and the reason for the acid is it also means you don't have to use as much salt. So it keeps the food a little bit more low sodium, but a little bit more flavor to it. So I use apple cider vinegar mostly for my Stamp Pots. Sometimes I'll use rice wine vinegar because it's a little bit more neutral, but this goes great with the carrots. You just chop up some carrots and onions, and then we'll saute that and blend it all up with the potatoes and our spices, and use some sort of milk base. It can be a non-dairy like a soy or even oat, or I even made it with coconut cream. Or you can use like a whole milk or 2%. And then with the Zuurkool, it's our sauerkraut here. Now I like to saute the sauerkraut up ahead of time as well. And then our Dutch bacon there. So why don't you go ahead and start chopping some potatoes. And these are a Yukon Gold potato.
Okay.
We do use a smaller side just because it has a little better starch content. And then I'll start with the onion because I know nobody likes to chop an onion. So
how
we'll
big
do
do
that.
you? How big?
So we don't want big skins. So what I would do is I usually chop in half, and then I chop in half again, and then I go like this.
Okay.
That way, when it blends, you have smaller skins there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So go ahead and start chopping those, and just throw them in our pan for boiling.
Okay.
And I will take care of the onions so you don't cry over there. And if you have any pieces, just put them to the side because we do compost everything with the Springfield Compost Collective.
Oh, that's great.
And so, yeah, last year we took about 800 pounds of scraps and kept them out of the landfill and turned them into compost for the community gardens.
Well, that's awesome.
So,
Now, how did you get the, where's the inspiration for Van Gogh's?
so when I was in college, I had a group of foreign exchange students that came over from the Netherlands that went to my university and ended up becoming some of my best friends to this day. And I actually applied to go to their university and went over and spent a year studying in Rotterdam.
Well, that's wonderful.
And we've just stayed connected for years. It's been over 20 years. I've gone back and forth well, just about every year or two I'll go over.
Now, do you do riffs on Dutch cooking, or is this pretty authentic?
Most of it's pretty authentic. Now, I will say that Dutch food in general can be definitely a bit on the bland side. And so I would say I try to add a little bit more seasoning and more flavor. But most of it, you know, we don't realize how much Dutch influence we have in the United States. And when you look at the food, you look at the menu, it all sounds very weird, but when it actually shows up on your plate and you start eating it, you'll be very familiar with everything. Because a lot of dishes that we eat every day, you know, or things that your grandma made, you know, we have so much Dutch ancestry in the U.S. So a lot of people are very familiar with stuff.
Like what would one of those things be?
Like croquettes, you know, they're yeah, it's where you take like minced meat, potatoes, and then it's you make a ragu and bread it and fry it. But lots of people remember their grandma making croquettes, and you know, we get the little silver dollar pancakes. Kind of originally come from the Dutch poffertje, which is their, you know, tiny pancakes, and even just our methods of braising beef, pot roast, all that kind of stuff, you know, is a lot of it comes from Dutch heritage. You'll find that. So,
oh, that's great.
But it's definitely comfort food. You want to go ahead and get those in
Look,
there.
I did like 4 potatoes, and you did a whole onion.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm not even crying. And when you're cutting everything, of course, you know, with your Stamp Pot, you're trying to hide everything, get people to eat all that good stuff without realizing it. So the smaller you chop up your carrots or your potatoes, the better.
Slice it or in half first?
Slice it in half and then make sticks, and then chop the sticks up as fine as you can chop them. If you're cooking with sauerkraut, sometimes I chop it up a little bit too because you don't want really like stringy parts. better when it's all smaller.
That could kind of freak somebody out who doesn't like sauerkraut.
Oh, people love it. Yeah, I don't think I've had anybody say they don't like it yet. I like to season even as we're sauteing. We'll add it in the end when you mash the potatoes, but this gets everything right in there. Of course, always put a little salt in with your potatoes when you're boiling. You put salt so it raises the boiling temperature of the water, so you're cooking them in actually hotter water, which allows them to get more tender. It also cooks them a little faster. So, yeah. So I'm gonna go add some water, put this on the stove. As soon as you got that done, come around and we'll get that sauteed and you can come over there.
All right.
You got mad knife skills there. Super simple. Take your chopped items, a little bit of your olive oil, bring them over and we'll start getting them sauteed. Now, traditionally you don't normally have the onion in the Zuurkool. I threw in a little bit of the onion because it helps us know when we got to cook down as soon as that onion gets a little translucent. But same thing here, once your onion gets translucent, a little brown, then you know that you're pretty much good to go. It'll also mean that your carrots, we got them nice and small so they'll get super tender. And we got our potatoes boiling, so really we just need to let it cook. So as soon as your potatoes are done, I always put them aside and just let them sit for a few minutes. Yeah. So that's it. Once this is all done, again, we have two different stamp pots going up here. Oh, that kind of shot up at you. Basically, you're just gonna throw this in your mixer, mash it all up, put whatever kind of dairy you want in there, maybe a little more salt, pepper, nutmeg to taste, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar. It's not very much. For a big pot of potatoes, you only need like a teaspoon.
Yeah.
It's just provide a little bit of acid.
Way.
Yeah. And then you have a stamp pot.
And that's it.
And then pick your meat and make your gravy and throw it on top, and you're good to go.
Sounds great.
All right, so you think you can go home and make a stamp pot now?
Yeah, I'm going to go home and make a stamp pot.
Yeah.
You surprised the husband.
Nice. Well, I got another little treat here for you, and this is a little bit more complicated to make than the stamp pot, but this is what we call a Stroopwafel, and we make our own here in the restaurant.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so if anybody's ever had a Stroopwafel before, they can come in here and try the ones that we make, but this is probably one of the most famous foods or desserts or anything from the Netherlands is the Stroopwafel. In fact, when I go there to visit my friends, they almost always greet me with stroopwafels and tulips. That's the traditional way to greet people. So, but what it is it's a waffle cookie. So it's sweet, it's a cookie, and we cook them on a special iron. And then as soon as they're hot, we cut them down the middle, and then we have a caramel sauce that we make in-house as well. Wow. And put it in between the cookie. And then the way you eat it is you put it on a hot drink, and the drink will warm the cookie back up and warms the caramel. And as I told you earlier, traditionally in the Netherlands, you never sweeten your hot drinks. It's just tea or just coffee. There's never sugar in it. Right. But you almost always eat your hot drinks with something sweet. So it kind of balances it out. So why don't you go ahead and tear that open, and I have a little bit of our lavender Earl Grey tea.
Oh, this sounds lovely. Yeah. Now, is the tea from Chabon?
Yes, so we have a tea and spice store down the street called Chabon, which Chabon is Portuguese. Actually, it means good tea. Cha means tea, bom means good. Okay. And I lived in the Netherlands for a while, and I have a great love for the country, but my family heritage is actually from Portugal. So that's why we have that name at our store there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I have never done this. I hate to admit that. Okay, so we just pick it up.
Yeah, just tear it in half.
Just tear it in half.
Yeah. See, it's all soft now.
Yeah, can you see that? It's all soft on the underside.
Yeah. And you see the caramel in the middle.
Yeah.
And then just go ahead and dip it in your hot drink.
Okay.
And then take a bite.
Mm.
Now go ahead and take a sip of your drink, and you realize you won't need sugar in your drink. That eating it with the cookie is what.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, see what you mean? So now you don't need that extra sugar.
No, you don't.
Just give yourself a treat. And
that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm a convert.
Yay.
I never thought I was a tea drinker.
Yeah. So if you like the food in the Netherlands, the way of saying something's delicious is you'd say that it's lekker.
Lekker?
Yeah, and if it's really delicious, it's heel lekker.
Heel lekker?
Heel lekker, yep.
All right, well, this is heel lekker. This is wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been really terrific.
Nice.
Van Gogh's Eatery, how long have you been here?
So just about 3 years.
About 3 years.
Yeah, just about 3 years.
Okay.
We're here on historic Commercial Street.
Wonderful.
And a lot of great eateries up here, so come check us out, and then go see some of the little shops. We got our tea shop, we got a great little gift shop called the Footbridge Trading Company just down the street, and then in the summer, of course, we have our farmers market is literally right across the street next to the Jefferson Avenue footbridge.
It's a great location. All right, Joe, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.